Greetings, grammarians. You've come to the right place for another mind-blowing English grammar lesson. Let's do this. Today's lesson, upon or on. To summarize, there are cases where you must use on. There are cases where you can use both, sometimes on or upon. In some cases, on is more common, sometimes upon is more common. There are cases where you must use upon. On, as I'm sure you know, is a much more common word than upon. Most of the time, you will use on. The book is on the shelf. Upon is interchangeable with on here, but the book is upon the shelf? Yeah, I could say that, but sounds strange. Sounds very strange. Grammatically correct, but nobody would say that in modern English, except if for some reason you want to convey a style of English from the 18th century. It's archaic, so if it's a preposition of physical positions, use on, never upon. And on is used in many more situations than upon. Just to give you a few examples, she's on the phone, he's on my right, I'm on the train, we arrived on time, I saw them on TV, etc., etc. Always on, in almost every case. Upon wouldn't make any sense in those examples. And I'm not going to give you a list of all the cases where you use on. So if you have any doubt, or I don't mention it here, just use on. However, upon is far from dead. We still use it in modern English, and in some cases, you must use upon, not on. Here are a few cases where you can use both without any difference in meaning. Upon might sound more formal or literary. You would notice from the examples of phrasal verbs, we often use upon, as I said, with a formal, a literary, or an abstract meaning. You could also use on like this, but when you're talking about literally physical things, doing physical things, you must use on, not upon. Let's look at some examples. I depend upon this job for my income. To build upon. We should build upon our success. If you are literally, rather than metaphorically, building, then use on. We are building on the field over there. Look upon. I look upon you as a brother, even though you're a girl. To frown upon, which means to disapprove of something. Relationships with colleagues are frowned upon in this organisation. Not recycling your waste is frowned upon in society. To stumble upon, which means to learn about something by chance. I stumbled upon an interesting video about the Cockney accent when I was watching YouTube. I stumbled upon an interesting bar while I was wandering around the neighbourhood. You can also use stumble on or stumble across, but stumble upon is more common. If you literally stumble, that is, you trip up or you walk into an object and almost fall over, you must use stumble on. I had almost finished the race when I stumbled on the last hurdle. So you see, upon is often used with a figurative or abstract meaning. On is always the one you use when it's a literal meaning, never upon. Insist upon or insist on. You're coming to dinner tonight and I insist upon it.
Here are some more phrasal verbs with upon. In most cases you can also use on, but I've chosen the ones where upon is the more common version. Even though both can be used, sometimes there is a nuance in meaning, or at least the on version has a slightly different energy. By the way, if you're not sure which is more common, on or upon, I'll show you a trick about that in a moment. Let's just have a look at a couple more from the list, but I'm not going to go through all of them. That's your homework. To act upon. I have some information that will change everything, and I intend to act upon it. Hang upon. Now, hang on has several meanings. Hang the picture on the wall, etc. But hang upon has a very specific meaning, and that is to have an intense interest for something. Okay, so for example, she was the most interesting person I had ever met, and I sat there bewitched, hanging upon her every word. To hit upon, to suddenly realize that something is a good idea. You know, I think I've hit upon the perfect title for my new book. Okay, and here's that trick I promised you. I have mentioned it before. It's the Ngram. Go to books.google.com/Ngrams. Compare 2 or 3 phrases separated by a comma. Let's try frowned on versus frowned upon. As you can see, the frowned upon version is more common. Let's try stumble upon versus stumbled on versus stumbled across. Here you are, stumbled upon is the most common. This won't always work. If a phrasal verb has more than one meaning, such as hang on, then it's not going to work because you're not comparing like with like, but it often works.
So let's have a look at some cases where you must use upon, to take something upon yourself, which means to take responsibility and control of something. I took it upon myself to read all of Shakespeare's plays. I took it upon myself to watch all of Let Them Talk TV's videos. Upon meaning immediately after. Upon leaving university, I got a job at Walton and Grimshaw. Upon entering the room, I was greeted by a hearty round of applause. This is quite a literary way of expression. It sounds good, more poetic than straight after or immediately after leaving university. Upon finishing recording the video, Gideon ate 12 donuts and drank a matcha latte. To be upon us, which means to talk about the arrival of a season or some period of time. Christmas is upon us. Summer is upon us. I better get my Speedos down from the attic. I'm going swimming. The exam season is upon us. I better do some revision. Once again, it's quite formal and quite literary, but it's fairly common and an interesting way to express yourself. Try it next time. Instead of saying spring has finally arrived, say spring is upon us. I can't wait to go into the forest and pick, strawberries, whatever. Next, if you want to say that there is more and more of something, and the something seems endless, replace more with the quantity of the thing you're talking about and replace and with upon, then say the thing. Be easy if I give you some examples. From the top of the hill, we could see miles upon miles of desert. Summer is upon us and we have weeks upon weeks of sunny days. People left the city when the factory closed. Now all you see are rows upon rows of empty houses.
And as I'm sure you know, every good fairy tale starts with once upon a time.
So now you know the difference between on and upon. So go out into the big wide world and use it, grammarians. Stay healthy and see you next time. Bye.